Hello everybody, this is Russ Bucher for ControlMyNikon, and welcome to the Using the Sound Trigger tutorial. We're going to take a look at how you can use a microphone connected to your computer to trigger the shutter on your camera. This is very easy to do. Now you just need to use any standard microphone that you can hook into your computer, whether it's a laptop or a desktop, and it's basically just configured in the control panel. I'm going to bring up the control panel, and this is a Windows 7 control panel. If you go into Sound, then to the Recording tab, here you can see the recording devices, and I currently have one called Realtek High Definition Audio, and this is also my primary sound capture device. And you should be able to see the sound intensity or the sound level here on a little graph. And if you don't see it or it's not very loud, then you may need to adjust. You just double click on it, go to levels, and you can increase these sliders here to ensure that the levels are high enough. Okay, now once we have that set up, then we just go into ControlMyNikon, and I'm going to connect to the camera, and I'm connected to a D7000, and I'll go to the triggers menu, and I'm going to bring up the trigger log, and I'm also going to bring up the sound trigger window. Now you don't need the log, but we'll use it here just to configure it the first time. It'll help us see that we have this properly configured or not. Now the first thing you need to do is select your microphone that'll be capturing the sound, and in this case, there's two entries here in the list. They really are the same microphone, so I'll just leave it onto primary sound capture driver, and you'll be able to tell that you are using the correct microphone because you just click on listen, and you'll see the sound intensity displayed here on this progress bar. I'll just listen, and here you can see that this sound is tracking my voice. Now I'm just going to stop listening. So there we saw the sound intensity. Now all we need to do is move this slider. This is the actual intensity trigger level. If I put it here, then that sound intensity only had to come up this far, halfway, to trigger the shutter. So in this case, because my voice was so loud on this microphone, I need to put it all the way. So I'm just going to demonstrate here to trigger, and we also need to tell it what to do when it triggers. Now we could select any of these commands. We could tell it to just shoot, or AF and shoot, or start a script. So in this case, I'm just going to tell it to shoot, and I'll enable it. If you don't put a check mark here, it'll trigger but not send any command to your camera. So I'm just going to take off my microphone here. I'm going to use this as a trigger mic. I just need to get it away from my voice here for a moment. And I'm going to cause a loud noise to happen, and it's going to trigger the shutter. So let's give this a try. And all I did there was took my microphone and set it down on the desk and dropped a coin beside it to activate it. When you're not using it, you can always just stop listening if you like. Now this reset here is very important. This is how often it can trigger. So if there was a lot of noise happening and you only wanted to trigger once on the noise, then ensure that you set the reset so that high enough so it doesn't trigger at every peak of the noise. So I'll just demonstrate here with my voice. I'll listen. Now you can see my voice triggers it. It detected the threshold. In 5 seconds it'll reset. It triggers again. Wait 5 seconds. So that is very useful to stop kind of false triggers from happening on your sound trigger. There's some other things that you need to take into consideration here, and And for a lot of these remote triggers, people like to use them for, popping a balloon with a pin and trying to capture that motion of the exploding balloon. But the sound trigger in this case is just not fast enough, because you have to take into account the latency that these microphones experience on delivering its signal to the camera. So for example, in the case if you put your microphone beside a balloon that you're going to pop with a pin, it's going to take maybe 10 milliseconds for Windows to recognize that sound. And then it's going to take ControlMyNikon to process that, maybe another 10, 20 milliseconds. Then it's got to send that signal down USB to your camera, maybe 5 or 10 milliseconds again. And then finally your camera has a shutter latency. That can vary anywhere from 40 to 100 milliseconds depending on the model of your camera. So really, at the very fastest that you could trigger is about 100 millisecond delay. And for capturing a popping balloon or something like that, that's just not fast enough, and you need to use other equipment for that. But if you wanted to catch your dog barking or the subway going by or something else that generates a lot of noise, it'll capture it just fine. So really not that useful for high-speed photography. And that's it. That's how you use a sound trigger. Happy tethering.